All right, well, this is Aaron Squire coming to you guys tonight. Tonight, I got a special treat for you guys. We've got two guests from HexTCGPro with us. We've got the King, the Grandmaster, Mr. John Tatta with us tonight. This is the first time he's graced my show with his presence. And then we have Jeremy Crawley, another HexTCG Pro. It was also a Magic Pro. And we're going to be doing the show tonight.
I wouldn't go so far as Magic Pro.
Yeah, we use that term loosely around here.
He top aided, so I mean that puts you in somewhat close to at least pro status. So
not terrible status.
He got to sit across from a Hall of Famer, so that's pretty sweet.
What's going on, G Prime Bot? All right, so tonight we'll be talking with these guys, and we'll also be talking about the patch notes that just came out yesterday. We'll also be talking about a Reddit thread, and then we'll be doing an Eye of Creation joint deck where we're all going to have different ideas, completely argue about them, and hopefully we'll get a deck built in under an hour. All in under an hour, so here we go. So starting off, we got John on. We don't have any pictures for you guys. He's the Skype guy. Right there above me. So, John, we'll just go ahead and start off with the HexTCG Pro tournament is going to be happening this month. So go ahead and tell us about that, and then explain to me what drives you to actually run a tournament. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is, and I knew that it would be at first, but I didn't realize just how much until we're already too deep, and it's like, starting to be not really a burden, but it is a lot more work than I thought it'd be.
Right.
But anyway, next weekend, which is March 22nd, March 22nd, Saturday, is the March event, which is the third event, and signups for that will open on Monday, March 17th, which is in just a few days here, so people can be on the lookout for that. That'll be at hextcgpro.com/organizedplay, so you can look for that there. The event this month will be ran the same way as last month. I'll just log into my Twitch account. I'll stream the entire tournament, pairings, results, everything else. People can ask questions, so on and so forth. And it'll start at same time, which was I think 10 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that's John time. We'll just call that John time from now on.
John time, yeah. And please keep in mind for the rest of the world that isn't in the U.S. is that we had our time change last weekend, so we are now under EDT, which is only GMT -4 rather than GMT -5. So, right now it is 9 o'clock Eastern time, which means it should be 1 a.m. GMT. So it's 4 hours rather than the normal 5. So keep that in mind. I don't want anyone to show up late for their first round match and be like, well, what happened? So
yeah, for all you people that live in like Arizona, and I think Australia and some parts of New Zealand.
Good old Arizona.
Yeah. Arizona. It's a new place. It's going to be a special land card. It's actually going to be new shard, Arizona shards.
Yep.
So, just real quick, John, give me some of your TCG background so the guys can know exactly where you're coming from, and maybe talk a little bit about creation of HexTCG Pro.
Sure, yeah. See, well, first of all, I am the ripe young age of 31, so I actually have been playing card games since I was like 10. So I started with Magic, and of course when I'm 10 years old I'm not taking Magic seriously. Like, I just like opening packs. So my parents used to give me like $5 a week or whatever, and I would just go buy like a pack of beta and get something awesome and trade it to the shop owner for a pack of beta. And I've probably given away tens of thousands of dollars doing this, but that's how I started my card playing career. So started with Magic, had a lot of success in Magic, played on, a handful of Pro Tours, did well at some Grand Prix, nothing serious. Like, I haven't played, competitively in many years. And then I moved on to the old Decipher Star Wars game, which was
my gosh, it's all sitting
really
behind
awesome.
me.
Yep, yeah, I played that game for a few years. I was still very young, but, I played it quite a bit. And then, moved on more seriously on a pro level with Versus System, which was an upper deck game, and the World of Warcraft card game. Both those games I did, pretty well in. Several high finishes. It was a lot of fun. Traveling the world was, my favorite part of it, actually. And then, now, of course, I'm playing Hex, and that's really about it, honestly. Hex and Soulforge and Hearthstone from time to time, but now I'm just strictly digital.
Right. Yeah. Settle down. We get old.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Segue us to the patch notes today. So if you guys haven't read these, make sure to check them out. We had a really big, huge patch. We missed a week of patching, and then we got a massive patch, which gave us drafts. Big deal for everyone. Everyone's been waiting for this. Everyone's talking about drafts. When are the drafts coming? We need drafts. And personally, I'm surprised it's this early because we still don't have best of 3 games in the regular queue. So it's really amazing that they still have this. I kind of wonder if it's keeping the original deck or if it's just keeping the way you have it sided from round to round. I don't know if any of you guys can confirm that or not. But yeah, just a couple of things in here. I'm not going to, I typically don't go through everything, but one of the big things is that they basically nerfed Inquisitor, or everyone that could use the Ruby Gem of Destruction. Ruby Gem of Destruction originally was deal random damage equal to the troop's power when it came into play, or damage randomly to one of the troops that your opponent had in play. And now it says deal damage equal to the power of that troop to the champion, your opposing champion. So it no longer has that removal aspect. So what do you guys think about some of this this change?
I'll let Jeremy take this one first. I mean, that's his favorite card.
Right.
I mean, I think it's important. It makes... Like, I'm not going to force Inquisitor into my control decks that I build with blood.
Right.
I think it's more appropriate for the Shard. But yeah, like, I think just being able to just kill every single troop that your opponent plays and just gain the tempo off that was too strong. So, maybe the thoughts about, because I thought it too, that Inquisitor itself should be nerfed, but with that damage gem gone, I haven't played any games with the new Ruby Gem. I want to. I have a deck that I brewed up, but it's a good change, and I think it opens up some possibilities for better deck building, more open deck building. I think we'll see a lot more wild decks. So
it's
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot less oppressive for wild. I agree. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can echo Jeremy's sentiments there. Like like people are calling for the demise of the Ruby Destruction Gem. It's they didn't really nerf it. They just functionally changed it, and it's still very, very good. It's still one of the best gems, even though it doesn't affect the board at all.
Right.
But it's still super powerful, especially in something like Battle Beetle. Jeremy, we'll talk about that later. But it's still a very, very good gem. And even though you can't really abuse it with Inquisitors so much anymore, it's still quite good in cards like Battle Beetle or anything that high attack prime socket troops.
It's a lava axe. It's a Battle Beetle lava axe.
Yeah, battle axe.
Battle axe.
So anyway, I do think that this will allow some faster decks to actually still exist. The way that the gem previously worked, it kind of really hosed the faster decks that relied on turns, say 2 through 5. So now those decks can actually exist, and everything seems to be much more balanced because of it. So we'll see how it is here in the tournament next weekend. That's really the first big tournament since we have pretty much all of the cards. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot less Inquisitor play, but I think someone's going to definitely use it, and we're going to talk about a gem that could be used to a very good effect later when we go over some of the new gems here. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the crush damage absorption. Crush damage is a lot like trample damage in Magic in that it, if you are attacking, the damage goes over to the player if it's not absorbed by the troop with the troop's defense. So it's exactly the same as trample, actually. And the way it works in Magic terms is if a crush troop were to hit a flock of seagulls, for instance, you would deal whatever would be lethal to the flock of seagulls. It doesn't die, and then whatever it is that you have left you have the choice of dealing it to the flock or carrying it over to the player. In the patch notes, it now says Flock of Seagulls now correctly absorbs all crush damage, which means it can absorb an entire fist. And same thing with Bird of Plenty. So I guess there were a lot of forum outrage on the main forums about this. So
I mean, I feel like that can be said for any topic these days.
Right.
But they essentially functionally changed the way that crush works. And I don't really agree with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not really getting all up in arms about it. Like, it's a change. These cards are still bad, but just not as bad now.
It's like, how many of you play against Flock of Seagulls regularly with crushed troops?
I haven't seen Flock of Seagulls since like October.
Yeah, it's like we have this huge patch with just glorious things, and then people are like, "Oh my God, crush damage changed! I quit. Where's my refund?"
Yeah, but
I can't believe it. And you're gonna just deal with it. So they change it. All right.
That should be like the new tagline. Where's my refund?
Yeah. Flock is going to be like a sideboard card now. You know, and in the past it was not playable at all. And now it's like, okay, cool. Now we have Flock, which is a pretty good sideboard card against Wild because, you know, you can just stop a fist.
Right.
But, like, it's still not that big of a deal. Like, you know, sure, you get to stop a fist, but, like, the Wild decks will just adapt and they'll start playing Sapper's Charges in their sideboard, which they should already. But, like, you know, this isn't going to make that much of an impact. And I feel like people on the forums just think that they're right all the time, and
I'm getting a refund for this.
Yeah. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, the biggest deal is that they functionally change crush. Not so big of a deal is that Flock of Seagulls and Bird of Plenty are both still bad. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see in set 2 and 3 if it really makes a difference, but for now, it's really not that big of a deal.
Right. All right, so segueing us into the new gems that they added, and where are they? Gems. I'm just going to do a Control F here for the gems, and maybe do it doesn't even gem particles. Ah, there we go. Yeah, she's truly outrageous, Gem. She is, but we're actually talking about Prime Blood, Orb of Brutality, the new Sapphire of Subterfuge, Blood Orb of Cruelty. So the first one, Blood Orb of Brutality, says, and I know it's not here in the patch notes, so I'm just going to read it. Target troop gets minus power permanently equal to, when this troop comes into play, target troop gets minus power permanently equal to this troop's power, and that's what it does. So, going back to our discussion about Inquisitor, I could definitely see this being used in an Inquisitor to invalidate troops, and they would still sit on the board. They could still be pumped later, and it's definitely another use where in Control we could definitely see this. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it like essentially takes the place of the Destruction Gem, you know, to take away the troops' attack. You know, they can still chump block, but, you know, basically it's not nearly as good as the Destruction Gem, but it'll probably do some work in certain decks.
Right.
But I don't really see it getting played over, you know, maybe some of the other gems. But, you know, it's not terrible.
It would be quite humorous to have in a 0/6 what is it, Fist of Briggadon, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Plus you get to target with it. So before you didn't, and now you do. So pretty awesome. So we're going to stay in Blood. I'm just going to go skip down to the Jeremy, sorry, did you have anything to say about the Brutality before we move on?
I mean, I typically don't like -X, -O effects.
Okay.
But I mean, I can see its use. It's just I mean, how many -X, -O cards do you see played in Magic?
Yeah, hardly any,
Unless
they cantrip
they're
or something.
always in blue.
Yeah, but Jeremy,
Yeah.
this isn't Magic.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm equating the two games because, you know, they're so radically different. So it's impossible to
really
compare them.
getting tired of people like you really saying that this is like Magic. But
So moving on to the Prime Blood of Orb of Cruelty. Yes, I skipped over Sapphire because we're going to stay in Blood for now. And this one says, when this troop deals damage to a player, put target troop into your hand, your own hand. So you could target a troop in your graveyard, put it back in your hand, and now you have card advantage. Ridiculous. Of course, you have to get that damage through to the player, so still another one that could be a possibility for Inquisitor maybe, or something where you're running Sapphire to give something some evasion. A lot of different things there. This also makes Uranaz a lot better for me, because all the time I hated when someone would kill my Uranaz, so this gives me a chance to get him back. What do you guys think about it?
I don't know. I really don't see too many uses for this. I know some people were brewing up some decks that try to, like abuse it, but I don't really see any way to really abuse it. Once again, there's just probably just better prime gems, overall.
Right.
So I don't really think it'll see too much play outside of some fringe deck use.
What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, like the only really card I would want to put this on is Eldritch Dreamer.
Yeah.
And I would rather draw a card. Like, I don't know, because you have to, like John, you have to find a way to abuse it, and I don't think there's really a way to abuse
yourself.
it right now, or I haven't. Yeah, because I'm gonna do that all the time. And it's, I mean, it's good. It's definitely a good gem. I'm not gonna say it's bad or anything, but I don't think there's enough sacrifice outlets with enough just straight utility creatures to really abuse this. So we'll see.
So the last gem on the list here is the Prime Sapphire of Subterfuge. Subterfuge? I'll figure it out. Anyways, when it enters play, target champion buries cards equal to its power plus its toughness. So another one which a lot of people that love the mill mechanic are going to try to use.
My favorite people.
I don't see it working that well, but it's another one that someone's probably going to try with Inquisitor. So
sure, maybe. Okay, so let me tell you something about this gem. It's stupid, and the reason for that is that it encourages people to play mill decks, and that is the last thing that they need encouraged, to be doing. Mill decks are historically bad, unless you can do something really broken with it, like ultimate, Jace Bellerin, or play a card like Sanity Grinding from Magic. Like it's not going
Magic,
to.
Dude.
Well,
Jeremy,
yeah,
stop comparing this to Magic. But it's just there's I don't think that there's a hex mill deck that can actually exist yet. They're really trying, but still, none of these cards do anything to affect the board. So you're still just getting crushed by all the faster decks and.
What about that really good 1/1 flyer that mills for 1? He's really good.
Spawn.
Actually, I saw a podcast where some people talked about that, and they were pretty stoked about it. So
yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people who like it. Like that's their thing. They want to play
cool.
mill decks.
Right.
And like, good for them. But they are retarded to play against. Like, no one likes playing against a mill deck. It's unfun. It's not interactive.
Yeah, it's not interactive.
And, you're going to win 9 out of 10 times probably if you have like a real deck. But mill decks are good against control, I guess. But any mid-range deck or deck with troops, they're just gonna crush you.
Yeah,
I
typically
don't know, man, but they changed Flock of Seagulls, and that's gonna go on the mill decks.
That's true. That is true.
There you go. So typically, like
one.
when I'm looking at mill as a mechanic in general, it's typically I don't want to commit a whole strategy to it, but if I can get away with playing like a couple of cards that do it, that could be a secondary win con, and they're functional, then it's something. Like for instance,
and then you play games, you win games with those cards. You're like, man, I should just take out these mill cards and just keep playing good cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
or
for
you win
instance,
with mill, and it's like I want to take out all my other cards and just play more mill.
Yeah,
so
like it's not necessarily a mill card, but like Relentless Corruption. I have milled people out with Relentless Corruption.
Yeah, sure.
So, but Relentless Corruption is very functional outside of mill.
Yeah, I mean, because it says draw a card.
Draw a card, exactly. So there you go.
I mean, that's not so much mill, more so of draw a card.
Draw my opponent's cards, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, we're going to talk about some of the cards in the spotlight. We got Shrine of Prosperity starting off. You guys can see it. Start your turn, reveal the top card of your deck. It gets permanent. If it's a troop, it gets +1/+1. If it's a resource, it gets gain a charge. So if you play that resource, I guess it gives you 2 charges. And non-troops get resource cost -1. So this is a card that when I see it and I look at it, I say, well, I think people are going to be ambitious and they're going to be like, I got all 3 things to happen in my deck. And I think if you maybe concentrate on maybe 2 or even just 1 of some of these aspects, if you're going to try to get this to work in your deck, you're going to do a lot better than trying to do all 3 of them. It's kind of an okay buff. It's not great. It's going to be a dead card. It's a buff. Again, sometimes it's going to be a dead card for you. So I'll hand it over to you guys.
Yeah, this is an artifact. I'll let Jeremy take care of this. Right down his alley.
It's all right. Like I'm not gonna try to force this in any decks to try to build around it. Like it's cool. Like I think it's a cool limited card. That's where I'd be excited to see it. But this doesn't excite me for constructed play.
Right.
Yeah, and like the reason why I don't like it. Okay, so I used to think that it was pretty cool. The reason why I don't like it now is that you have to show your opponent every single one of your draw steps, all of them. Like they see the card that you draw,
right?
And any good player is going to take advantage of that. I mean, like I know sometimes you just draw the right cards and it doesn't matter, your opponent still can't beat you, but you know them having knowledge of your hand the entire game, like that's a big deal. And
you should actually take that away because
like
there's no reason for it.
Like that is a seriously like a big deal. But you know, outside of that, like Charles was saying, I think you have to build a deck to maximize like 2 of the 3 of these things. You know, the resource thing just comes naturally,
right?
So, you know, just whatever. But I think that some sort of control deck might want this eventually. You know, having all of your spells cost -1 and all of your random troops like +1/+1. You know, having like a 4/2 Inquisitor or like a 3/2 Corpse Fly, like that's all
all those ancestor chosen guys that can trip you, the 2/2s. It's like, oh, just dump out all these ancestor chosen. Yeah.
But you know, it's hard to find room for this card because you probably have to play 4 of them to be able to play it on turn 2.
Yeah.
And then like that's 4 cards that like out of your deck, and the control decks are all like already really tight. So I don't know.
And I also don't want to reveal cards to my opponent.
Yeah, that too. That's my biggest thing. Is like I hate giving away free knowledge. Like that's like my biggest pet peeve. So I don't play cards like this.
So we'll go from that card, which is probably rated out of 10 at somewhere in a 3-4 range, to this Angel of Dawn, which is ridiculous.
Probably Ground of Prosperity is 3.7.
Yeah, we'll have the counter running, and yeah. So, anyways, moving on to this Angel of Dawn, which is going to be ridiculous. We've talked about this a lot before. John has talked about this at length. It's basically a Serra Angel that's just redonkulous. It's easier to cast than a Serra Angel. If you had to cast it, hard cast it. But if you top deck it, it's your first card. You play it for free. This card is going to see play in the next tournament, guaranteed.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I do want to start off by saying that this card is good, but I don't like this mechanic at all. And
do you like anything?
No,
do you
like
anything?
Jeremy, you of all people should
Hex?
be able to relate with me. Like this mechanic in Magic,
I hate
it's
it.
Was the bane of Standard.
Even though like my go-to legacy deck of choice is Miracles, because I think it's unbelievable.
And
but
it's
I do
fun
hate
to play,
the
but it's really unfun for your opponent. It's just
because they're like, I have board position,
this.
Things are going well, and then you're just like, I think I'll miracle this, and you're like, they're like, well, I guess I scooped my hand to that card that you just happened to draw.
Like if this is the only card that they make that has this mechanic, then sure, that's fine. It'll like fade away.
It needs to rotate, that's for sure.
But and Miracle actually had a cost. Like Bonfire, you actually it kind of had a cost. I mean, you had to
half
pay like
half the cost.
Okay. But this is like just straight up free. Like you draw it on turn 2, it's like okay, here's this, and then you play land and play like a 2-drop. I mean that's pretty silly. It should cost something, but I mean I don't know. Like
it kind of encourages you not to play card draw. I guess there's that. It encourages you not to draw cards. So, but other than that, yeah. Moving on to Herald of Adamath. This was remade. So originally, this was, it looked at your deck creation, and for all the humans you had in it, I believe he was a +1/+1 while he was just sitting in your deck. Now, when he enters play, he triggers and gets. You look at the top 10 cards, and for every human revealed in this way, he gets +2/+2. Obviously, much worse. I'm not sure if he's cheaper or not than he used to be. And then you shuffle those cards back in. So, I don't know. I think he's pretty trashy now. I mean, I give him like a 2.
Well, he was trashy before, and the reason is that he has no
John's
evasion.
gonna tell us why he doesn't like this card.
I think none of these cards are good. That's the problem. I'm not gonna lie to you and be like, man, this card is awesome, and here's the deck that it goes in. I want to be real with you.
That Angel's awesome.
Well, the Angel is pretty good.
Well, yeah,
it's just
the Angel's
a
obviously
stupid card.
Crazy.
But Hero is not a good card. It costs 5. It's a 0/0, and
it could actually come into play and not.
I can
live.
stop there. Yeah, I could stop there. It
could
no
come
evasion.
into play and die.
It could be a 20/20.
It could be a 20/20. Then your opponent can block it with Flock of Seagulls.
That's true.
So,
I can't even get a crush. What am I gonna do?
Jeremy, anything to add?
Well, realistically, if I want to put a troop that costs this much in my deck, I'm just gonna play King Gabriel
sure.
to guarantee way better.
Or Drew's Walker. That'll do more than this guy.
Hey, just in between us going
now rendered useless.
Going from card to card here, I'm just going to plug Frotsylvania real quick because he's got a shard cast right after this, so make sure you hop over to his cast right after we're done. We're going to be done in the next 30 minutes, hopefully. But yeah, so moving on, we've got Solitary Exile, which is basically a lot like Oblivion Ring. Comes into play as a constant, and you can exile something, so this helps deal with the fists of the world, or those pesky birds that now block everything. And but if you manage to exile it, you can bring that card back. So hopefully those mechanics are working well. But other than that, it's basically Oblivion Ring. It's good removal. It's going to get drafted a lot. It's going to see main deck play. It's going to see sideboard play. It's going to see play. So you guys?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a pretty good card. I don't like that it costs a double diamond threshold, but
this card's great.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. That's how I started off. Is this card is very, very, very good, and I think that this card and the Angel will make Diamond Sapphire control a real thing. But that being said, the double threshold is kind of a downer because in Magic it is a single threshold, but that's
I need me a Sphinx's Rev.
Yeah,
I can play blue-eyed all day.
Yep. But this card will certainly see quite a bit of play. I'm certain of that.
All right.
So,
Jeremy, anything to add there?
I mean, Oblivion Ring's good, so this is gonna be good.
yeah.
There you go. Enough said.
There's no constant, kill spells. You cannot kill constants in this game outside of Nature Reigns and Chaos Key. That's really it. So
yeah, so
cards
I
around
mean, it is
good.
sorcery speed, but other than that, I mean, it goes main deck and it removes constants by itself. So if you need to remove a constant, it does that double duty for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorcery speed. Main, I guess. What do we call that? We call that basic action speed. So Crushing Blow here. Target troop gets +2/+2 and Crush this turn. Of course, Crush took a big nerf from those birds. So this card's going to be really
Next card.
this card's going to be really good for all those Ruby players. It's going to save troops. I mean, it's going to, and a lot of times when it is that people are playing, they're going to be like, I feel safe to trade this 1/1 for your 1/1, and it's surprise Crushing Blow to help me. And now I also get that damage through that I really need to get through before it is that you stabilize some sort of board state. So thoughts, guys?
and that butt, that artwork is where it's at.
It's orc butt, yeah.
That's right. No, but seriously though,
I didn't even notice that until you said something.
I'm saying this card is my favorite new card, and the reason for that is because it kind of enables a whole new deck archetype, which is the Wild Ruby Blitz decks, and it pairs extremely well with Kindling Skarn and Gas Troll.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I'm not going to get too off topic here, but I built a deck that only has 19 resources in it, and I think that's too many, but I just ran out of playable cards. And that plays like 4 Kindling Scarn, 4 Gastrol, like 4 Baby Yeti, and then like
Baby Yeti.
the entire deck is just
right. It's all one drop
and 2 cost actions. And like like I said,
Tops out at
I
a 2
want to
curve.
play 7. Yeah, like I want to play 17 lands, but like I just don't have any more playable cards that cost 1 or 2 that work with the deck. But there is 1 4-drop. There's 1 Gore Feast, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the deck is very, very good, and I'm planning on writing an article next week about it. But I've played like 12 games with it, and I'm like 11-1, and I've killed 4 people on turn like 3, and several people on turn 4. Like it's very, very, very silly.
Jeremy,
but yeah, like I love Crushing Blow.
Jeremy, over to you.
I don't like the flavor text. Where's my refund?
So stay down.
They need to put more work into the flavor text of these cards, or my money is wasted.
I'm done. I
yeah,
want
it's
a
good.
refund.
I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna hate playing against John's stupid deck. It's gonna be terrible, and I hate that archetype, but I'm gonna have to deal with it. I hate it worse than mono red because it's better than mono red, and I already hate mono red. And like he messed me about the deck, and I think my response was make sure when you stream that you're wearing a beanie with a propeller on it while you beat people.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you can spin it every time he wins.
like getting turn 3 wins is very satisfying. It's like, oh cool, sorry, I just killed you with a 14/14 Gastrol, my bad.
So next one on the list here is this Elimination Specialist. He's a dwarf, 3/2 troop. So decent body for the cost with an effect, pretty good effect. When he comes into play with a rocket counter on it, for each artifact you control, remove rocket counter from this troop, deal 1 damage to target troop. At the end of your turn, remove all the rocket counters from this troop. So obviously you're going to play this when your opponent has something in play for you to kill, and then basically if you have any leftover rockets, they all go to waste. So really good removal troop. It's going to see crazy play. We could even see it in maybe some sort of Sapphire bounce with Ruby type of thing maybe going on. So I'll just send it over to John so he can tell you how good or not good it is.
I don't have much to say about this card. I don't think it's very good, but I'm prepared to to
eat some crow.
Yeah, to be wrong about that. So I don't like it.
All right,
so
Jeremy.
So I like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I can use it to kill something and then throw him at my opponent with a Vol Cannon. So I like this card.
And he's still in play, so you aren't. Oh, all right. All right. So moving on to the Gore Feast of Cogwords. Tapetal.
Yeah, it's Tapiti. Tapiti. That's right.
Tahiti. It's Gore Feast of Tahiti.
Phonics did not work for Charles.
It did not at all. Yeah. So it's 4 cost, basic action. Troops you control gain Rage 1 this turn. After this, your first post-combat main phase this turn, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. At the start of that combat phase, ready each troop that attacked this turn. So this is a lot like there was basically a constant for this game that did the same effect, except it was every turn, and you could only attack with 1 troop. But with this, it's crazy because you can attack with all your troops. That was in Magic, of course. You can attack with all your troops and then do it again. So double attack phase, ridiculous. And I'm guessing this is how John pushed through all that damage.
Actually, not really, but this card is in that deck, of course. And the one time that I've played it in like 10 or 11 games, I did like 27 damage or something on turn 4. Like it's really, really silly. But this card is insane. Like the actual effect is absurd. And it is a very, very, very good counter to Extinction. And the reason for that is that, sure, your opponent casts Extinction, and then you just untap, use your charge power on Polka, and attack your opponent for 9, which will probably kill them. And, this card is going to see quite a bit of play, if not, maybe in, just sideboards. But there's, every Ruby deck should have like
One of these,
like at least, yeah. But it's a really good card. I like it a lot.
Oh man, we got so many new cards. Jeremy, before I just keep trying to skip over Jeremy. Jeremy, what do you think about it?
You still can.
It's cards like this that, like, I understand. Like, I'm trying to word this the right way. When they completely just copy a Magic card, like this is just an exact copy of Relentless Assault except more powerful, and it's cards like this to me that they really need to think about, because I think this card is too powerful for Hex.
I agree.
It's too like it should cost 6. It should cost 5. I don't know, but it should not cost the same as Relentless Assault. And I think
it should not be 2 Ruby threshold. Like a card like this should be 3 or 4 Ruby threshold. Yeah.
Yeah, this card now goes in every single Ruby deck, and it's something you have to consider. It's one of those cards that skews your deck building.
Right. Yeah. Ruby was already fast enough.
It's undercosted. If I play Ruby deck, I'm gonna put this in it, guarantee you, because it's unbelievable. But it's just one of those, like, how much testing did they do with this card before they decided to make it a card? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I do want to mention that this is for like standard constructed purposes. I know someone talked about that in chat, and we're not really doing draft reviews as well because that would take a while. But most of these cards are rares anyway.
So moving on to the Master Theory Crafter, I think this is the last troop here. He's another Dwarf Warlock, cost 5, and he says Socketable Major. So he is the only Socketable Major in Ruby right now, so that's kind of a big deal. He's only a 2/2, so he's not really a great body, but he puts in Warbots, which are 3/3s with Crush. Do they have Crush? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think they're 3/3 Crushes.
3/3 Crush, and it has speed. And then it dies. Okay, so it's just a 3/3. It has speed, and then it dies at the end of the turn. So you don't just get free dudes every turn, and you have to exhaust this guy to do it. So it's going to take a turn. I don't think it's great. I really don't especially like it. I don't know. Someone might try to throw it in just because of the major gem.
You are correct, Charles. This card is not great, and people will try to use it with the Ruby Gem of Destruction, which might be some pretty cool burst damage. But this guy is just a 2/2 that doesn't have speed, so it's just kind of like meh.
Yeah, and like you aren't even getting 5 damage out of him. So, Jeremy, your thoughts?
It's aight. It's not great. It's aight, but like
it's aight?
I don't know. It's a dwarf, so I like it.
Right. Okay.
So that's my input.
Like 5
stamp
cost
of approval.
2/2 makes me super sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be like a 3/4.
So Jeremy gives out +3 rep to all dwarf cards. Yeah.
Yeah,
plus 3
like,
Jeremy
awesome.
rep.
Like a card like this should be like a 5 or something.
I forgot we have. Oh my gosh, we have so many cards. I have creation. We're going to talk about a little bit later when we do our deck doctor, because this is a deck doctor for tonight. So we'll do that while we're doing the deck doctor. But basically, reveal top X cards of your deck. Put each troop revealed that way. Troop, not troop with less cost. Just anything that's a troop into play. So it gets all this come into play effects, and then play each resources revealed this way. So you get all the resources too. You just don't get spells or constants out of this. So those get shuffled back in. But we'll talk about that later. We're going to move on to Plant Garden here. This one's another constant, costs 3, whatever it is, wild threshold, and it's a 4 cost overall. At the start of your turn, add a seed counter to this constant, and then gain a health for each seed counter. So it helps you, I guess, gain some health to keep you alive while it's not doing anything. And then if there are 3 or more seed counters on the constant, transform it into a Venus Fly Gorger 60% of the time, a Spore Stalks 30% of the time, or a Vine Goliath. So 60% of the time it works every time. Anyways, here's what the Venus Fly Gorger looks like. It has life drains of 5/5, so you're going to get that 60% of the time. Otherwise, you're going to get Spore Stalks, which is pretty bad, in my opinion. At the start of your turn, create Spore Stalks. You can basically create more of these guys, and then at the end of your turn, you deal damage to your opponent. So, and then the last one is this Vine Goliath, which is a big 9/9 that for some reason allows you to exhaust a troop instead of swing with it.
Because man, he's all viney. He just like, just like
right, yeah, spaghetti monster, right, yeah. So he could vine up those overpowered birds, and then you could swing through with something else.
Yeah.
So so this card was like the center of attention on the forums today, and I don't even know why. But people were complaining that it was a PvP card. It's like, look, people like to have fun. Like, I mean that's just part of the game, and people like to have fun. Sure.
Is it a PvP card? Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought you
yeah.
said PvE.
Right, they're
No,
saying they
yeah,
should.
PvP.
It should be PVE because it's got the random
Yeah.
elements.
But people like to have fun in PvP as well. Like, this is a very well designed card. Like, it's fun, like it's random, like people like that kind of stuff. I mean, I
Right.
don't, but that doesn't mean that someone else isn't going to.
Right, it's not
And
consistent enough for a
yeah, I mean, not
spike, but
not every
it's
card
good
is
for
a
a Timmy.
bomb. Like, the card is perfectly fine, and I don't really understand all the animosity toward it. Like, it's not unfair. Like, it's totally random. I don't know. Like, this card isn't very good. Like, in a vacuum. But someone is going to have a lot of fun with it, and someone's going to live the dream of hitting their 10%er and
Just
kill
with a
someone.
vine
Like, it's
glass.
just that's just how it is. So whatever.
So I mean,
It
when you're
takes
designing,
advantage of
go ahead.
the digital space. It
Yeah,
takes
exactly.
advantage. It's cool.
It's a very
Is
cool
it
card.
constructive playable? No, I'm not going to put plant gardens in any deck that I play.
Right.
But it's cool. And if people are going to whine about that they just want to be a little bit more creative, then I won't say what I want to say.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Is it constructive playable? No. Not every card has to be constructive playable.
Exactly. You have to have bad cards and really good cards. When you're designing a set of cards, they talked about the three archetypes of players. You got the Tommy, I'm sorry, not the Tommy, the Timmy, the Johnny, and then the Spike. And the Spike players are most of your HexTCGPro types, which are basically win at any cost and kill babies and children. And then you have your
That's
Right. Cheat to
John-
win.
That
right,
is-
exactly.
that is first
You have your
degree murder.
Johnnies, which are basically looking for the craziest, most convoluted combo possible, and then you have your Timmies, which are like big cards with big effects. And this is definitely a Timmy card, and so they have to balance the sets for all those archetypes of players, so that way they can get excited about different things. Because a Timmy is going to trade for this card, and they're going to trade Spike the card he needs so he can play a competitive tournament.
Yeah, that's like I could not have put that any better. Like, that's well said.
So drafts are obviously in. The interface is beautiful, so go check that out. I'm not going to say too much about that. It's a draft. We have some video about that.
It's draft.
It's draft.
Next.
We're going to segue into a real quick, because I don't have a lot of time remaining in the show here, but there was a discussion about on the Reddit forums. It says, I don't visit here anymore, and here are some ideas that might bring me back. And basically, this person was complaining about how it was that the forums had divulged into some sort of ad campaign for everyone's different blogs and this and that. And there are different viewpoints on that. So when it is that we post content, we don't do it and expect you guys to watch it and then it go into a void. We want feedback. We want it to start discussions. When we post something on a forum, please post on them. Please talk to people. Please talk about it. If you don't like it, say you don't like it. Say what you don't like about it. These are discussion starters. This is for you guys. We're not doing this to promote ourselves necessarily. There may be people out there. I'm not going to guarantee you that everyone isn't going to do that. I particularly am for promoting the community first, and then also promoting the game. That's about equal. So, any thoughts on this, guys, before we move into the deck doctor?
I mean, me and John talked about on the podcast on Tuesday
Okay.
about whining on forums, and that it just happens.
Yeah, it's just
But
part.
I think his
part of
art.
the world.
I think when I read it, when I read it, when I looked at that post, he was worried about like people that don't post that much, their stuff getting buried. Like, you're not going to get buried on the Hex subreddit. There's like 10 people viewing it at any given time. So
Right.
I really wouldn't worry about that.
It's at 0, and I can still see it. It's like maybe 10 down. It's still on the front
And
page.
if you don't
of
like,
the
if you
Reddit.
do, that's how Reddit works. If you don't like something, you downvote it. And if people constantly downvote somebody, they're gonna notice.
Yeah.
And like, you're not gonna look at their stuff. So, anyways,
Yeah, and the big thing is the front page. Like, you want things to show up on the front page, because then you're going to get people from other communities, and they can downvote you too, because they don't want to see it on the front page. When you're in our community, I mean, great, downvote things if you don't like them or whatever, but if you see something that's been downvoted and you actually like it, please support it by upvoting it so it gets on that front page so they get more exposure. So this will segue us into our Eye of Creation deck that we're going to build. We have an entire 14 minutes to do this, to try to come in under the hour time frame, and with 3 people to argue about it. So I had.
So once again, John took all my ideas, and he's going to call this Eye of Creation deck mine, but we can go into it.
Right. So.
So I gave Jeremy the sweet list that he'll tell you about.
Right. So I'm just going to read through one that I did today at work, and then I think we're going to build one of John's decks. But here it is, and I'm going to post this on
my deck. Yep.
On the YouTube comments. I'm going to post this. Jeremy, did you have one you could read off real quick as well, or not so much?
No, we already discussed it. So
okay.
I don't need to go into it.
All right. So here's a deck that I've come up with where Eye of Creation isn't the focal point of the deck. It's basically in there as card draw for a mono wild player to do. So it's got 2 Eye of Creation, just 2, 4 Pack Raptor, 4 Oaken Ceremony to get more Pack Raptors or to other troops that you want to get. It tops out at 5, but really 4 because it only has a single Jadiim in there. We got 4 Root Dancer, the single Jadiim that I just talked about. 4 Sensei, because when you draw them with Eye of Creation, it draws you more cards, and also it's just good to get you to that Eye of Creation. 4 of that Cocoon Moth thing, I forget what it's called, but it's pretty good as a 1-drop. 4 Howling Brave, which I'm not sure if that should go in there or not. The 3/2 Troll that has Crush. The 4 of the Skirmisher, where you can give him the gem that gives him... so he can't be untargetable by your opponent, and that way you can buff him with like Root Dancer or other things, just the classic stuff. And then 1 Wild Aura, 1 Wild Growth, and that if you guys missed any of that, it's going to be posted on the YouTube later, so we can check that out. And we'll just move on to John's deck here that he had.
Well, we can talk about Jeremy's version, quite a bit more than this. The one of the versions that I have is just mono wild. I mean, it's just your typical Eye of Creation deck that has, I think it played 25 resources. In fact, here I'm logged in game. Let me just take 2 seconds here to bring it up. Here it is. Okay, so you play Running Deer as your champion, of course, because 25 life is kind of a big deal. But the big troops it plays, you have two Guardians, 1 Argus, and then 4 Howling Brave, 4 Sensei, 1 Squirrel Titan, 4 Chlorophillia, 4 Root Dancer, 4 Fist, 1 Jadiim, 4 Wrathwood Colossus, 4 Eye of Creation, 1 Puck, 1 Urnaz, and 25 lands. So the card that jumps out is really odd is the 1 Urnaz, and that is just like a concession to how good Urnaz is. If I draw him, so be it. But ramping into him with Eye of Creation is very, very, very game breaking. So that's just something that I threw together. It's a pretty standard list outside of probably the Urnaz. But you just want to try to get a Root Dancer out and then play Eye of Creation for a ton of resources and buff a troop to huge and kill your opponent. Preferably Fist of Briggadon. So pretty standard deck, but the cool version of this deck, and I don't know how viable it is because I've only played 1 game with it. And
you won handily, didn't you?
But it's okay. So I played two games with it, and it's a red-green, Ruby Wild, Eye of Creation combo deck, and the combo, and 90% of this is all Jeremy, so I don't want to claim any of this. And someone's like, "Oh, man, Tatta's deck is awesome."
I'm just ragging on you.
All right, cool. So it's my deck then.
And there you go.
So 4 Hellhound with the Speed Gem, 4 Rampaging Trask, 4 Ash Harpies, 4 Battle Beetle with the Ruby Gem of Destruction, the Damage Gem, and 1 Lord Alexander, 1 Guardian, 1 Argus, 1 Jadiim, 4 Howling Brave, 4 Chlorophillia, of course, 4 Eye of Creation, and 1 Puck. And then there's 26 resources right now. I mean, that could be altered, but this deck is so resource starving that having these extra lands is pretty sweet. But the whole point is to just combo your opponent with an Eye of Creation for 5 or 6, and get like a Tarask or a Battle Beetle or some Hellhounds, and just haste your opponent out. So it's
See, my logic, if I'm going to play Eye of Creation, I want to win when I play the card that my deck revolves around.
Yeah.
And, I see people play Eye of Creation decks, and it's like, why wouldn't you just want to win immediately? And that's my thinking. It's like, well, I don't care if I have a Tarask in my hand or, just an Ash Harpy that I may never get to play. Just if you play Eye of Creation, you want to win that turn, and that's my thinking. It's just like Warp World decks in Magic. Just if you're playing Warp World, just win when you play it. Who cares if you draw garbage in your hand that you can't play? Just make sure you can play Eye of Creation.
Yeah, and that's why there was the one Urnaz in the other Eye deck. Like, who cares if you draw it? Like, it's in there to ramp into it, like, or to combo into it. Like, that's it. But the Ruby version is just straight up try to burn your opponent, and like you could also win without playing Eye. You could just naturally draw your Battle Beetles and your Harpies and stuff, and just play them and attack your opponent. Like that's entirely
the ramp
possible.
element that's necessary for sure.
Yeah, so it's not unreasonable to ramp into like a turn 3 like Ash Harpy or a turn 3 like Battle Beetle or something. So but yeah, it's
so right now to John's deck,
I would
I'm like
put more Lord Alexanders on that list.
Probably. I mean, that's probably certainly right. It was it's a very rough build for sure, but the overall core is the Hellhounds, Tarask, Battle Beetles, and Ash Harpies, Pusher, Braves, Chlorophillias, and Eye of Creations. The rest of the deck is pretty debatable, but those 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, those 28 cards right there are the core of the deck.
So what we'll do is I think I'll ask John nicely if he can either tell me the deck or post it somewhere so that way I can get it on here. The one I just built is the basic mono wild deck, and I'm going to try to fill this out, but right now Puck isn't in the client, so that's a problem, and I'm missing like 4 cards because we played 2 Puck in here, and I can't remember what else you said. So here, we'll just go through it real quick.
For the mono wild version?
Yeah, the mono wild. Let's see. I've got the 4 Brave, the 4 Fist. I've got a single Battle Beetle. Is that right?
There are no Battle Beetles.
No Battle Beetles. Okay, so
no, there's
4
2
Wrathwood,
Guardians.
2 Guardians. I got those.
1 Argus.
I've got that.
4 Brave. 4 Sensei. 1 Squirrel Titan.
Squirrel Titan. Duh.
Yeah. And then the 4 Chlorophillia. 4 Root. Okay. 4 Root Dancer.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were running him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 4 Fist, 4 Wrathwood Colossus, 1 Jadiim, 4 Eye, 1 Puck, and 1 Urnaz. And if people aren't really comfortable with playing the 1 Urnaz, like they could cut it and play like a second Puck or something. I mean, that's up up to them. But like I prefer Urnaz. Like that guy is like way too good to not try to cheat into play.
Another big thing with Eye of Creation that you want to think about is if you play multiple uniques, you are taking a chance of having your unique discarded. And just to remind everyone, here's exactly how it works. If I have a unique in play and I play another one, the oldest one dies. You don't get a choice. In Magic, you get a choice under the new rules. Whereas if you have 2 uniques in play, you can choose one to die and the other one lives. So if that happens, like if you have like a 2020 Jadiim and all of a sudden you Eye of Creation, you could end up with a 5/5 Jadiim instead.
Yeah.
So
if you have a 2020 Jadiim and you decide to cast Eye of Creation, you should probably play a different deck.
Right.
It's a little too greedy.
Beyond that, we saw some talk on Twitter about running multiple Pucks in this deck, and I don't feel like that's too bad. Someone was saying run 3. Maybe a little bit too much for you, but the thing is, if you Eye of Creation into multiple Pucks, it doesn't hurt you that much, so keep that in mind. The build we have is pretty rough right now. I'm gonna post
Sure.
this build, but the curve is horrendous on this, so that's something you're gonna want to definitely look
Well,
at.
you know,
Um,
like just like as a side note here, Eye of Creation is a combo deck. Like it should be built as a combo deck. Like there will be some versions that just play it to like for card draw, which that's fine.
right.
But if you want to go all out with Eye of Creation, you have to build it like a combo deck. So naturally your curve is going to be horrendous. Like you're going to have 20 plus cards that cost like 6 or more. And that's just the way it is. You have to be comfortable with that. If you're not, then like this is not the deck for you. You have to play at least 25 lands, like maybe 26, and you're going to lose games because you either draw all of your high cost cards and no ramp, or you'll draw all of your ramp and no high cost cards. Like
Right.
that's just
You'll
the
never
nature of
see,
of the
or you
beast.
never see the eye for some reason. Yeah, so Eye of Creation, another thing is when you're looking at the way to count it, the client is counting the X card as a 3-drop. You need to count it as a 4-drop. So we actually have 4 drops in this curve as well. Now, when you're thinking about Eye, though, like if you're casting it for 4, you're in a really bad situation. You want to cast this card for at minimum 6. When we're looking at our deck, 2/3 of the deck are troops. So if we cast it for 6, there's a very good chance we'll at least get 2 troops out of it. But again, that's one of the big things you got to really weigh with the deck, and you're looking at.
Yeah, kind of. Like I don't really agree that you have to cast it for like at least 6. Like there are times where, say it's turn 4, you have Eye of Creation, but nothing else really going on. Casting it for 3 on turn 4, yeah, is not really that big of a deal. Like, it's like, hey, I'll cast it for 3. Maybe I'll hit like a land or 2, which is fine because you're ramping, or I'll get lucky and hit like a Fist or like a Colossus or something. Like it's not really that big of a deal. If you have nothing else to do, like I condone casting it for like 3 or 4. Like it's perfectly reasonable.
All right, so just reminding everyone when we post this deck out, if you're using the link to go back to this website right now, Puck is not on the website, so he's not there. I'm going to go ahead after the show, and I'm going to go over and get the rest of the decks from JCrawl and John. So I'll get one from John, one from JCrawl, and all that stuff's going to be posted on the YouTube, and then every forum that I post this video to, it's going to be out there. Make sure you go out and support Sylvania because he's going to be doing a cast right after this. So make sure you guys head over there. I'm going to have JCrawl and John go ahead and plug their Twitch TV and their YouTubes if they have. Yeah, we have YouTube. Yeah, we got HexTCGPro YouTube. And then we'll do our sign off and we'll be done.
Yeah, so my Twitch account, I don't use it much right now. I'm kind of waiting for beta, but the Challenge Series tournament will be run from my Twitch account, which is twitch.tv/HTP_JTatta. So check that out during the tournament, of course, which I'll make very public. And of course, check out HexTCGPro.com. There's a draft article up there right now from a live draft that I recorded last night, and we will be doing plenty more of those as well. So.
You want to talk about the #1 prize for this upcoming tournament, John?
Oh, yeah, sure. The upcoming tournament in March, the prize pool will be at least 100 packs, and also first and second place will be getting King tier Kickstarters, which is very awesome. And that'll be the same for April as well as the same for May, as the top 2 finishers will be receiving King tiers.
Bam.
So, yeah, that's pretty awesome for a free tournament. So if you're on the fence about it, like I suggest playing, try to make plans to play, like don't practice with some band, just things like that.
Right. So
Who would do that?
Also keep in mind that on April 1st, if you want to get in on the Kickstarter, or not the Kickstarter, I keep saying that, on the Slacker backer at all, it's going to be gone on April 1st. No poop, I guess. So, JCrawl, over to you.
Really?
Yes. We don't try not to swear on this cast. Try not to.
So I haven't been streaming a lot, and I streamed a lot when the alpha came out, but I got a new computer, so it can handle Twitch. I was on a laptop, and it was terrible because my really good computer broke, and it made me sad. But now I can stream again. So what I'm going to try to do is I'll probably stream like Saturday afternoons, and I'm going to try to get in a draft, at least a draft every week. and I'll talk about my picks, like why I want to pick something, and then I'll be posting that on the site. Um, when we hear when the beta comes out, I imagine they're going to give us like a week or so of heads up. I will do another metagame article because I think the feedback I got was that people really just like so many just deck lists for you know, and that's what I want to do. Like, and I get a lot of requests. What decks would where a deck list. So I'm gonna try to do that again. Just try to write another kind of quick but good article. Just the 8-10 decks that if you want to be competitive, this is what I would play. And then yeah. But anyway, Twitch is twitch.tv/JCrawl85. I in game.
JCrawl.
My name is in game. My name is Jin2, JYNTU, and on the forums I'm Jindray2. But I want to change my in-game name to JCrawl. So, anyways, thanks everybody for watching. It was fun, and thanks for having me on the show.
I'd just like to thank all of the HexTCGPro guys for coming on. We got John and JCrawl for coming on. We went over tonight the patch notes, which took quite a while, but it was definitely worth it. We went really in depth on a lot of those cards. We did talked about a Reddit thread quite briefly, and then we did a really ridiculously lightning speed fast Eye of Creation deck. In fact, we did 3 decks in 15 minutes. I don't know if I can make a better show than this. This is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families. Try not to rage too much out there.